As long as we play and we approach the game every single day the right way and we all sacrifice for a common goal, I can see myself being in Milwaukee Bucks for the rest of my career. But the moment I feel like people are not committed as I am to get that golden thing in the back, I am not. I'm a Milwaukee Buck, but most importantly, I'm a winner. I want to win, and I have to do whatever it takes for me to win. And if there's a better situation for me to win the Larry O'Brien, I have to take that better situation.
Time to re-up YouTube. Your boy Young Mustard is back with another video, and I have a lot of things to say because Giannis, man, you really shocked me with that quote. For those who don't know, I am a big Giannis fan. He is my favorite player in the league, and even though I'm not a Bucks supporter, if I'm a Bucks fan right now, I'm shaking in my boots because Giannis just gave y'all his 2 years notice. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's definitely a chance that Giannis could still retire a Milwaukee Buck, but considering all of the things that have transpired ever since their championship in 2021, I can't lie to you, the odds go down with each passing second. Before I get deep into my bag though, I want to give a shout out to Modern Jam. He's an NBA YouTuber that makes great content. He had a detailed video about Derrick Rose's career, the ups, the downs, how he adapted from his injury and came back to be a pretty productive player. It's an insightful video. He just relaunched his channel about a week ago, so I would really appreciate it if you guys would go show him some love. But without further ado, let's get back to the subject of discussion, Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks.
Oh my God. Okay, because I'm not that up. You asked me the same question last year, Eric. Okay. Do you get a promotion every year on your job? No, right? So every year you work is a failure. Yes or no? No. Every year you work towards something, towards a goal, right? Which is to get a promotion, to be able to take care of your family, to be able, I don't know, provide a house for them or take care of your parents. You work towards a goal. It's not a failure. It's steps to success. You know, and if you've never, I don't want to make it personal. So there's always steps to it. You know, Michael Jordan played 15 years, won 6 championships. The other 9 years was a failure? That's what you're telling me? No, I'm asking you a question. Yes or no? Okay, exactly. So why are you asking me that question? It's a wrong question. There's no failure in sports.
When you look at the roster in Milwaukee, don't get me wrong, it's still a very competent team that can compete with just about any roster in the NBA. But the fact of the matter is that the roster is very flawed, and the deeper they go into the postseason, the more those flaws start to get exposed. Giannis himself, despite how great he is a flawed player, primarily on the offensive side of the ball. He lacks self-creation in isolation situations. He doesn't have that great of a handle to get by guys consistently, and even when he does, when he's met at the rim with multiple bodies, he can be neutralized. Throw in the fact that he is one of the worst jump shooters in the league from the mid-range area and the three-point line, plus he's a bad free throw shooter that gets worse in the playoffs as well. It's very clear that no matter how great Giannis is as a player, he has to come to the realization that these flaws are something he needs to fix no matter what. When Giannis has the ball, he acts as if he's a perimeter player. He handles it consistently on the perimeter, and he tries to do his half-back dive to the rim consistently. And with the play style that he has, he's just not efficient at that in the half court enough to where he can overcome his deficiencies the deeper he gets into the postseason when he's facing some of the toughest defenses in the NBA. That's why his efficiency drops off in the postseason despite sometimes his volume of scoring going up. And to make things worse, defensively this year, I would even say he took a little bit of a step back. I'm not saying Giannis is a bad defender by any means. He's obviously still one of the best defenders in basketball, and on any given night he can be the best defender in the NBA. But he doesn't show that same effort that he showed in like the 2019 and 2020 years. And on top of that, his lateral quickness is not the same either. Compared to his previous years, he is not the same perimeter defender he used to be. And that's not to say he's barbecue chicken on the perimeter and he has no value on that side of the ball. But when you see situations like last year of him not making an all-defensive team, there's a reason for that. And we saw in the playoffs this year, and even against the Celtics last year, that Giannis's problems in the half court as a scorer can not only bring his game down, but the entire game of the Milwaukee Bucks offense. Now, I could talk about Giannis all day long, but at the end of the day, this is a team sport. You have to have the pieces around you to accommodate for your weaknesses and strengths. And as flawed as Giannis is as a player, the pieces around Giannis, they have not done their best job to support him. And unfortunately, a lot of that is not even in those players' control. They're getting older and aging before our very eyes. Let's start off with Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez Lopez this past year, you could argue, just had his best season to date. Defensively, he was a depoy candidate all year and one of the best rim protectors in the league. And on top of that, he provides value as a floor spacer, which is very important on a team that shares a front court with Giannis. And even in the low post, he may not be the scorer that he was in his Nets years, but he's still very capable of getting a bucket down there, especially in a league today where teams go small ball more now than ever. Unfortunately though, despite him playing at such a high level this late in his career, he's still pretty late into his career. He's 35 years old right now, and in the middle of next season he'll be turning 36. Now of course all we can do is just wait and see if his body will hold up and his play as well, but considering that Giannis has 2 years left on his current deal and by then Brook Lopez will be turning 38 years old, I think it's safe to say and even assume that some decline is gonna be in his game by the time that Giannis is a free agent. And if that's the case, that's not a positive, it's only a negative as far as Giannis staying in Milwaukee, because Brook Lopez has been a big reason why Giannis has been able to take that next step towards being a top 5 player in the NBA. He not only aids him offensively with his floor spacing at the 5, but he also aids him defensively by allowing Giannis to roam around the court as a help defender while Brook Lopez protects the rim. But speaking of defense, that brings us to their point of attack guard, Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday, in my opinion, is still one of the better point guards and players in the NBA. He's capable defensively as being one of the best perimeter guards in the league, while offensively still being a great 3-point shooter, a good playmaker and passer, and this year probably having his best regular season of his career, averaging 19, 7, and 5 along with the steals, shooting 48% from the field, 38% from 3, 86% at the free throw line, with the true shooting percentage of 58%. For his efforts this regular season, he was awarded with his second All-Star appearance of his career. Unfortunately though, it was a drop-off once again in the postseason that just negated everything that he did in the regular season to become an All-Star. And Jrue was bad on both sides of the ball. And to be fair, Jimmy Butler was hitting some of the craziest shots, but Jrue was still getting cooked. And it's not like he was responding well offensively, because the guy was going out there dropping bombs. And I don't mean that in a good way, I mean that in a bad way. He was throwing bricks at the backboard over and over and over. He was a terrorist. And it's become a pattern for Jrue Holiday. Even when they won the championship, the guy shot 40% from the field and 30% from 3. Over the last 3 postseasons since he's got to the Milwaukee Bucks, yes, they've won a championship, but his efficiency has been abysmal. He has a true shooting percentage of 48% over the last 3 postseasons. That is nasty. And sure, defensively, Jrue Holiday has been great. Even in the postseason, he's carried over for the most part, even despite the bad postseason this year defensively getting destroyed by Jimmy Butler. But offensively, he has been exposed time after time after time. Because it's one thing when he's going out there and cooking the Pacers on a random Wednesday in the regular season, or the Rockets, or the Spurs. But when he gets into the playoffs and he's running into some of the better defenses in the NBA, he instantly loses the ability to create on the perimeter and make shots consistently. And that's not to say that he hasn't had good games in the postseason or even good series in the playoffs, but it's very clear the gap between him and the better point guards in the league, or even just better players, period. And similar to Brook Lopez, Jrue Holiday is not a young guy. Yeah, he's still playing at an all-star level, but he's 33 years old. He's not getting any younger, or quite frankly any better. And looking at his contract, the Bucks are stuck with him one way or another till it's over. After next season, he has a player option for the 2024-25 NBA season, in where he's owed $39.4 million. He'd be a fool to pass that up. And ironically, that's the last year of Giannis's current contract. So the Bucks really have no other option when it comes to Jrue Holiday but to cross their fingers and hope that he plays up to his regular season capabilities in the playoffs. But as much as I could talk about Jrue Holiday and Brook Lopez, those are not the second option. They're not really the co-star to Giannis Antetokounmpo. The real co-star is supposed to be Chris Middleton. Middleton is one of the better offensive weapons in the league. He's great off the ball, a good catch and shoot player, one of the most efficient 3-point shooters in the league over the last couple of seasons, a good passer and playmaker that's capable of operating out of the pick and roll, and as many know, the guy is a closer. He is cash money in the clutch. Unfortunately though, similar to Jrue Holiday and Brook Lopez, Chris Middleton is aging before our very eyes rise, and it is affecting his game and durability. Middleton this past year probably had the most injury-riddled season of his career. He only played 33 games in the regular season, and that includes an injury that he suffered before the season even started, which pushed his season debut all the way back to December, and then when he came back in December, he re-aggravated his injury and missed time again. Middleton's health and age has been a concern over the last 2 seasons. We saw 2 postseasons ago when the Bucks were trying to repeat in the 2022 NBA playoffs. They lost to the Celtics in the second round, but guess who wasn't there past the first round? Chris Middleton, as he suffered an injury that would linger on into the 2023 season, as I mentioned earlier. And unlike Drew Holiday and Brook Lopez, Middleton is not 34, 35 years old. He's 32. And of course, that's not some young age, but the guy is still in his early 30s. You would think the guy had about a year or 2 left of his prime, but if these injuries keep stacking up, his prime could be already over. And even when you look at his game has taken somewhat of a hit due to these injuries. He's never been the most athletic player, so things like rim pressure or a quick first step was never in his game to begin with. But with the injuries on his body, it's only gotten worse, but really where it's taken a toll on him is on the defensive side of the ball. On ball, Middleton is a walking blow-by, and we saw in that Miami Heat series, they targeted him a good chunk of the time. And with his play this year, there was a lot of skepticism about his contract situation with the Bucks, as next season he was on a player option and he opted out and re-signed a 3-year $101 million deal. It includes a player option for the 2025 to 26 NBA season, which Giannis is also on a player option for that year as well. It puts the Bucks in a very interesting timeline because there's a scenario where they lose Middleton, Drew Holiday, and Giannis in one offseason. And despite how good these players are together, they can't do it all. When you look at the rest of this Bucks roster, there are a lot of holes outside of their big 4. They are extremely top heavy. They lost Javon Carter this offseason, so that backup point guard role is definitely something they need to address soon. Their starting 2 guard is Grayson Allen, who's probably one of the worst starting 2 guards in the league right now. The guy is horrible defensively, and offensively he has shown to go cold in the biggest of moments in the postseason. Then you look at their wing depth, and outside of Chris Middleton, what do you really have? Pat Connaughton, Jay Crowder, Malik Beasley? Let's be serious here. It's pretty trash. And it's not just their wing depth that's suffering, but their front court depth is taking a hit too because Bobby Portis is declining. And don't even get me started on them bringing back Robin Lopez. It's not impossible for this Bucks roster to win a championship, but considering how top heavy they are and the 4 players that make them top heavy, 3 of them are past the age of 32 years old. 2 of them suffered with injuries over the last 2 seasons that kept them out for a majority of the regular season and some of the playoffs. I just don't see an easy path for this Bucks team to win a championship or even get to an NBA Finals. It's not impossible because when you have someone like Giannis, who's arguably the best player in the league, it's never impossible to win a championship. But with not only the Eastern Conference growing by the day, with guys like Damian Lillard on the verge of joining the Miami Heat or the Boston Celtics adding Porzingis to their roster, and I do believe that addition will make them better, it's gonna be tough for them to just come out of the Eastern Conference, much less compete with teams out of the West when they get to the finals. And then when you look at the coaching situation, it's a whole new system with Adrian Griffin now in the position of power instead of Coach Bud. And maybe that'll be a change for the positive, but unfortunately we can't say anything right now because he's a new head coach. If I'm Giannis, these next 2 years are going to be a bit of a test to not only the front office, but the rest of the roster to see how well they stack up to not only the Eastern Conference, but the rest of the league. And if the end results of their season is anything like it was this year or in 2022 after winning the championship, then I definitely do believe that a change in scenery is not only something that he might do, but something that he absolutely should do. Because a guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo should be competing for championships, not competing for an Eastern Conference Finals berth. We've passed the Joel Embiid stage years ago. It's time for us to get into those top 10 all-time talks. And if the only way for us to do that is to leave Milwaukee, then so be it. Giannis has spared the league by not going to team up with other stars in different destinations. Throughout his whole time in Milwaukee, he has not had an elite second star. You could argue he hasn't even had a top 15 player on his team throughout his whole time in Milwaukee. As a matter of fact, scratch that, that's a fact. Chris Middleton is the best second option he's had throughout his whole time, and he has never been a top 15 guy. And when you look around the league, players like Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, they have all had that luxury. So the divorce between Giannis and Milwaukee, it might be coming a lot sooner than you think. But hey, those are just my thoughts. You guys make sure you drop a like and comment your opinions down below. I would love to know what you guys think down there. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, press that bell for post notifications, and follow me on social media. Those links are down below in the description box. This is your boy Young Mustard signing out. You guys stay safe and have a blessed day. Peace.